Oh, welcome to the show, everybody. I flipped my camera. I didn't know where I was looking for a second. I want to welcome to the show Emily Dexter. She is a spiritual translator, which is super freaking cool. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to
Yeah.
be here.
Well, I know we're excited to hear what you have to offer. Okay, so spiritual translator. So can you tell people in your own words what you do, how you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Spiritual translator is like my current catch-all bucket for like the 75,000 things that I do. Talk often. I'm like, I'm just a psychic because it's the easiest to say. Like, I'm just a
Mhm.
psychic. People have like at least a general idea of that. But the truth of it is I do so many different things energetically, and spiritual translator kind of hits all of those buckets. So I'm a psychic activator. I do a lot of historical mediumship and historical channeling where I'm talking to people and that lived in the ancient past and just getting more of their stories. I'm an author, a podcaster, I'm a content creator. I do a lot of block removal, things like that. Yeah, a very varied expertise as far as what I do.
Oh, historical. That has got to be so cool. Like a historical, what did you say, medium?
Yeah, like a historical medium or a historical channel. So basically, instead of like the concept of like with mediumship, oftentimes
Yeah.
people are either talking to ghosts that are like right
Yeah.
there in the room, or they're talking to like ancestors of the person who, is they're working with, or like people's past loved ones, things like that. So I take that and I take it like way further and different and talk to people who were hanging out in ancient Rome or in ancient Egypt or in that Victorian house on the square or whatever that might not
Yeah.
be a ghost anymore, but it can still like tell you information about it.
Ooh, I love it. Rome and Egypt so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Who is
mean,
the coolest per you two? Who's the coolest person you've talked to?
so my personal favorite person, I would be remiss if I didn't mention her. Her name is Locusta. She was a poisoner in ancient Rome. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her so dearly. She actually did, unalive multiple emperors, in her time. And the reason she's my absolute favorite is I've channeled her so extensively because I actually wrote her book. So I wrote
Mhm.
her story of her
Yeah.
life, in like a historical fiction book. It's fiction because no one can prove all the stuff that I channeled in, but I did
Yeah,
channel it
yeah.
in and talk to her and she told me the story. Yeah, so don't have I have new announcements on that coming very soon, but I don't have them just quite yet. But yeah, so she's my favorite person I've channeled by far. As far as like from ancient times in ancient realm. There's also this really, really lovely woman I've channeled I actually was physically in Ostia Antica, which is outside of Rome. It used to be the Roman port city. Think about it as like Pompeii without the lava. Like it's very,
Mhm.
very well preserved, but basically it just kind of got ghost towned because the river moved and therefore it was no longer a port that could be used. And so the town just kind of got abandoned. And I love it there. It's so wonderful. But there's this wonderful woman who worked in a brothel that I've channeled there a couple different times. And she just has all the gossip. She just tells me all about the drama that was happening around town during when she was there. Is it super historically useful? No. Is it super
No,
fun? Absolutely.
so
So
fun.
fun. So fun.
So fun.
So
A
she's a
poisoner
joy.
and a brothel. This is just
Yeah,
amazing.
she's a joy. I enjoy
Yeah.
her so very much. Um, I've talked to people in Egypt. And around there's two different cathedrals in Dublin. I forget which one it is. But there's a man who it was his job to like wash the windows and like keep the cathedral nice, and he just hates seagulls. And I've talked to him extensively, and all he wants to talk about is how awful seagulls are and how ridiculous it is that those stupid rats like fly around and poop on his windows. He's fun. I like him. I've talked to a lot. I really like the common people. Like when I talk, I'm like, people will ask me, they'll be like, can you talk to, Cleopatra or this or whatever? And yeah, I can, and I have, and Cleopatra's lovely, and that sort of thing. But like for me on a personal level, I just want to hear like, what did you eat? Like, how did you get what you ate? Like, like what is there color in your house or is it just made out of mud? Like, can you explain this? Whatever. And I think it's so fascinating and so fun. So
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that is so fun. And it's kind of like Cleopatra is cool. And there's a lot of stuff known about her, right? But it's like the
Yeah.
day-to-day life, like of poisoners and brothels and seagull baiters.
Yeah, no, it's so fun. And like
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the part of history that's like not usually written about. And I'm super passionate about talking to like women and minorities too, because like
Mm,
their stories were really not told,
yeah.
especially throughout history. So whenever I do tap in and I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's someone from that time period who wants to talk to me. Or
Yeah.
we do a lot of ancient wisdom retreats where we'll take people around the world to different spots and do some channeled history stuff. And we'll go to a spot and I'll be like, is there anyone who used to live here who wants to come chat? And like just kind of invite them in to do mediumship with. And
Yeah.
that's the best way I've gotten so much information. And the fun thing is some of it is verifiable and sometimes it's not. So sometimes I can be like, hey, like he shows, like this really weird ring of earth and like, is that something that they would have had? And like the tour guide or, sometimes there's an marquee of information. Will be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. That would be this thing. I'll be like, cool, so great, and like super validating. And then other times I'm like, well, apparently their neighbor was a real asshole. Not going to be able to verify that information, but they're still really pressed about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like the gossip, the town gossip, you can't verify.
mhm,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that's so fun. This is the perfect segue for what we're going to talk about, which is playing with your spirit guides.
Yeah. So yeah, great segue. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been my passion and like my dedication. I've been in this industry basically my whole life. Like I've been psychic forever, but I've been professionally doing readings and channeling for people since I was like 15 years old. And my biggest thing and my largest focus has always been to like make big spiritual concepts super accessible, easy, and fun.
Mhm.
Because I really dislike gatekeeping and I really dislike the narrative of like initiation or people talking in these big, vague universe terms to like address these super they don't have to be big and vague. Like everyone has spirit guides, everyone has psychic abilities. Like we could all do this and connect. So when we talk about playing with your guides, like I mean that. Like let's play with them, like hang out with them, talk to them like they're your friends. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, see, Emily Dexter, I knew I liked you.
Thank
I
you.
also, right, I do, you know what, there's such a huge, when we make things really big and initiative, then our brains won't actualize it for us. It's like, no, that's not me. That's too big. It's something too special. But when you make this stuff not mundane, but when you make it playful and when you bring your personality to it and make it accessible, it's it's a more productive journey, an
Oh
easier
my
path.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also is a way to kind of get around some limiting beliefs and blocks that you may have. Like if something
Mhm.
like it's big and you need to earn this thing, then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not worthy and I can't do this and I'm not
Totally.
magical. And it like spills all that out when I'm like, instead of me being like, well, just invite your spirit guide to sit on the couch with you and watch an episode of a show and then ask them what they think about it. Like that creates an entirely different narrative. Like you don't need to earn their attention. You're watching trashy reality shows together. Like that kind of switches that narrative immediately. And it's fun. And I think a lot of times too, especially historically down here on Earth, we
Mhm.
have this really it bothers me because we treat a lot of beings that are not people, like our guides or ghosts or deities or fae or
Yeah.
whatever it is, as these like singularly themed entities that are like their only job is. It's kind of like Ken in the Barbie movie. It's like his job is beach. It's like we do that to our guides a lot of times, or we do this to these other beings of like fairies or tricksters. That's their only personality trait, or
Oh, totally
whatever
not.
that
Yeah.
is. And they're whole and complete beings. They're more complicated than people are. So like the more you like play with them and get to know them as like they are full beings, then you all of a sudden have a friend. You find friends in your guides instead of, oh, please help me with this one thing. And then, struggle with like, did I get help? Did I not get help? I really want whatever. Instead, I can be like, hey, like I'd really like a parking spot, you know?
Oh, boy. That would be
Like
so
that would
helpful.
be so great. Could you like help me find a parking spot right now? I really am running late. And like it can be something casual and fun, or it can be like, hey, what's your favorite color? Like tell me about that. And then
Mhm.
it becomes like a deeper emotional connection and relationship. And I think that's good for them too. Like they also want to be known. I would be personally really annoyed if I'm helping this person through life and all they care about is the fact that I'm good at manifesting or whatever it is that I'm guiding them through, that would bother me. So yeah.
You can ask me something else. Yeah.
Right? Or just like, I do other things.
I do. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, I had something I wanted to say, but I totally slipped my mind. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, When did you start connecting with your spirit guides in this way, or is it something you've always done?
Yeah. So, it's kind of I've always done it, but I didn't really always realize I was necessarily doing it. So everyone has spirit guides, first of all. Let me just preface that, just like base level information. Everyone has them. I've tried to find people who don't. Like I've channeled on so many people to be like, do they have guides? And for a while I went even like with like the evil route, right? I'm like, I've
Totally.
channeled like serial killers. I'm like, do serial killers have guides? Like they're awful. And unfortunately the answer is yes, because the universe does not operate off of my sense of morality, whatever, but everything
Rude.
does have, yeah, right, how dare it. But really everybody does have spirit guides. Um and so you do have them, and essentially their job is to help you through life. The way I like to put it is, before we come down here, we kind of pick out some key plot points that we want to hit in this life journey. Is it every little tiny thing? Typically no. There's an exception to every rule. No rules really exist, so potentially it could be. Most of the time no. And it could be 5 plot points, it could be 75 plot points, but there's always space in between those plot points, and it's our guide's job to get us from plot point to plot point. So they fill that space. That's where they're there. They're there to help us with whatever that is. So we all have them because we need them, and we always ask them kind of before we come down. We select our own guide team for the most part, and they're like, "Hey, like you're really good at this thing, or you've helped me with this thing before, or you're my best friend, or whatever it is. Can you come help me with this?" And that's kind of where they stem from. So there's always a familiarity once you start to get to know your guides, where you're like, I kind of already feel like I know them, because you do already know them, even if you don't know them down here. So when you ask me the question of like, have I worked with them when I was a little kid? I thought everyone could see what I see and feel what I felt. I thought that was just like very normal. And when you have
Totally.
that belief, media reinforces it without realizing that it does. Because all of the media you see when you're a little kid is all about magic and these magical beings coming in, and like, like these things can happen. So for me, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes total sense for real life. That's how this works. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then people would be, like talking about their imaginary friends. I'm like, wow, you have a unicorn? I have just this old man by the water tower who just like yells at me on occasion. Like, you're real lucky. Like, my imaginary friends are not fun. Like, because that was just kind of what I thought. So I have some early memories of
Uh,
guides coming in and like stopping me from doing something, or like popping into existence. I'd be like, oh, like, you know, catching me when I fell off a horse, things like that.
mhm.
Where I was like, I do recall them. And then as I got older, I kind of realized like what everyone is doing when seeing what I'm seeing. And I did try to bring that to my mom. And my mom is a wonderful, beautiful person. We are incredibly close. She's lovely. She's also very Catholic, though. And so at the
Ooh,
time, I was
ooh.
like 7 or 8.
Eh,
So I'm bringing this
yeah,
in like, hey,
yeah, yeah,
here's all this weird stuff. And I'm sure I
yeah,
presented it absolutely wild. She's very supportive of what I do now, for context, totally all about it.
yeah.
But she was kind of just like, okay, well, that sounds nice. Like, go play outside, like whatever, And I was just like, okay. So that was when I started
Ooh.
to kind of have that moment of like external judgment against myself of like, well, this is not like, my mother is God and she says she doesn't know what's going on. Like, uh-oh, like this is a
Oh
problem.
no. Yeah.
So anyway, I tried to suppress that. That being said, my guides are still an influence, and even when you try to suppress it, it doesn't work. So
Mm,
like that's not how it works. So I have
totally not.
memories standing in the corner of my room and things like that throughout
Yeah.
high school. I got so scared of them at one point, of my guides, because I didn't know what they were, that like my mom would sleep in bed with me when I was like a senior in high school, because I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, it's terrifying in here. And she'd be like, really? Like, why is it scary? But okay. She was very tolerant. Um, but I remember them and see them and whatever. And so I have those presences. I never really worked with them as guides though, because I didn't really know what they were. It wasn't until my early 20s when I really was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what these beings are around me. It actually stemmed, the original point when I started working with them, it stemmed. I used to have a guide. She doesn't work with me as much anymore. She was for a very specific time in my life. I called her Hope. It was not her real name. But when I was in a really abusive relationship, late teens, early 20s. When I finally got out of that, I moved into my own house with my own kid, with my kids. And I basically, it was my first time really living on my own. And I kept feeling like there was a ghost in the like attic part of the house, basically. And every time I had moved houses, I had always felt like the first couple months I was fine and didn't feel anything, and then it felt like it got haunted for that first couple months. And I wouldn't be able to necessarily see them, but I would just feel this thing or whatever. And so finally I was like, you know what? Fine. Maybe I'm the one that's haunted. Maybe it's not actually these houses. Like maybe I'm haunted. Maybe it's a ghost attached to me. Maybe that's what's happening. So I was standing in my room and I was just kind of like, I was all alone in the house and I was like, hey, like, if you're connected to me or like you want to be part of the family, like you don't have to hide in the attic. Like you can come down and hang out. Like we would love it if you were part of it, like, and nothing really happened. I was just kind of like, hey, thanks, bye, and just like walk out. And then later that day, I like went to go pick up my kids and whatever it was. And then later that day, I came home and one of my lamps in my room was on, which I did not leave on. And I was just like, that means yes. Okay, neat. And from there, she was the one, and it was her role to really introduce me to the fact that she was not a ghost attached to me. She was, in fact, a spirit guide. And we ended up communicating very heavily. To the point where like I'd be watching a movie and she'd stop the movie on this TV until I was like, okay, what? Like, what's going on? I'd get out my cards. We'd do a reading together. I'd talk to her, and she was helping me open my abilities really significantly, bulk up as well, and heal through some stuff. And then when I'd be done with that, I'd be like, okay, can I have my movie back? And it would start right back up. Like it was very concrete the way that we worked together. And that was when I first really started getting into spirit guides, and that was years and years and years ago now. So yeah, that's kind of like the initial jump for me.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and so how do you teach people to connect to their spirit guides? Since you make it so easy.
You. Yeah, so great question. First and foremost, let yourself believe you have them. Even if you don't know who they are and you don't know anything, like let yourself be like, oh, I do have them. Just that piece of understanding is a huge crucial part. Even if you're not 100% and you're still skeptical, that's fine. Skepticism is good. I will never ever be someone to sit here and be like, you need to have blind trust in all of this. You don't. You
No,
never
that's
have to
terrible
trust it,
too.
right? You never have to trust it if you don't want to. Like you can always ask for continued validation. You can always ask for more proof. Like that is always a fine thing to do. So just to start that out, but just having this idea of like, okay, if everyone has them, I must have them too. I'd love to get to know them. So starting at that point is always really important. Then I recommend thinking about which senses are the strongest for you. So I could get into a whole diatribe about the clair senses, which I won't do because that'll take us an hour anyway to just like cover. But the clair senses are essentially the different psychic senses. There's 8 of
Mm.
them. And at the core of it, it's sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical feeling, emotional feeling, just knowing, touching with your hands. Um, that's basically the gist. So if you're a really strong visual learner, chances are good you're probably going to be able to see things a little bit better. If you've ever had that moment where you just know something out of nowhere, or you've given someone advice and you're just like, you just need to do blah 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 blah. And then they're like, wow, that's really cool. Could you repeat it? And you're like, no, I
No,
don't know how to keep them.
I don't
Like,
know what I said.
um, exactly. Or maybe you've heard stuff or you're really good with like you really love podcasts, audiobooks, things that really activate your hearing. Maybe the whatever senses you kind of naturally gravitate towards. Those could be the ones that your guides use the most to communicate with you because those are the ones you're naturally aligned with. So I always recommend figure that out. If you don't fully know, I do have a free exercise on my website if you really want to dive into it, by the way, on the clair senses. You're more than welcome to. Um, EmilyDexterPsychic.com. It's really complicated, but yeah, you just pop over there. It's totally free. You're more than welcome to do that if you want to figure that out deeper. But once you figure out like kind of what sense that is, it is always my recommendation to start asking them random questions throughout the day. And I mean that with my full chest. Make sure they are random. I am not saying to ask them for big advice or to ask them about big things or anything like that. Make sure it's just like little fluffy, goofy questions. The reason for this is about 50% of learning to access your psychic abilities and tap into these things is convincing your human brain you're not going to die when you do it.
Oh
And this
yeah.
is how we're going to kind of stop gap that, right? So if you immediately start by asking your guides, like, should I leave my job? Your human brain's going to be like, absolutely not. Like, no way. Do not do that. But if you ask them, do you like soup? Should I wear this shirt or this shirt today? What's your favorite color? Like random, goofy little things throughout the day. It's going to be a lot easier letting those in. So when you ask a question, you can either think it with intention or ask it out loud, and just notice whatever pops into your head first. And even if it makes no sense, just validate it. If it's like a smell, be like, "Huh, I smelled butter popcorn. Weird. I guess popcorn does go with soup. I don't know." Like, things like whatever that is. Or, what shirt should I wear? And all of a sudden you see an image of a pineapple, or you just know something to do with horses, and you're like, okay, whatever. Just acknowledge it. Be like, okay, something to do with pineapple. Great. Move on. You never know what's going to come in with that later in the day. Someone walks up to you wearing a pineapple shirt and they might be saying something that's super important or whatever, but it's just starting to get you comfortable with opening yourself up to that energy a little bit and starts to help you get to know them, like what kind of house do you live in? You know, are you a tall being? Are you a short being? Whatever that is. Um, do you have like human features? No, yes, okay. You know, like, do you have wings? Like, you can ask all sorts of just random little things. That's a really easy way to start to get to connect with them. Additionally, I always recommend to select some sort of validation symbol, sign, something that they can send to you. And that's another way to just kind of validate that they're there, validate that you're able to connect with them, help yourself feel more supported. It can be something super goofy and silly. It doesn't have to be something serious. And it's just basically taking the concept of anytime you've ever asked for a sign, they've sent it to you. If you've ever asked, like, I just need a sign, they've sent it. You may not have seen it though, because you might not have known what it was. And so this is kind of taking it and being like, well, select your sign, reselect what that is. And you can just as simple as like mine is rainbows, or my initial one was rainbows a long time ago. And so it was basically just I just kind of said out loud, like, okay, to validate that you're there, and like whenever you need to get my attention, could you just send me some rainbows? And then I immediately second guessed it, like immediately, because I live in a place where it does not rain. So I was like, I'm never gonna see that. And because I'm thinking rainbow in the sky, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it is either snowing or sunny. I'm screwed. I'm never gonna see this. Why did I do that? Like immediately, like, okay, whatever. And then that day my daughter gets home from school and she's like, look what I learned to draw in like kindergarten. And it's like a page covered with, I shit you not, like 50 rainbows. And I was like,
Awesome.
okay, got it, seen. So it can be something like that that you don't expect to see. Like I actually recommend that if you have a black cat, maybe don't make your symbol black cats. You know, like maybe don't do that. But it could be a song, it could be a smell, it could be a physical thing, you know, it could be yellow rubber duckies or bells ringing or, you know, whatever that is. Just note that when it comes up and lean in on that. And those are some just very easy basics to start off with.
Those are, yeah,
Yeah.
they are. It also helps your human brain feel safe, like you're talking
Yeah.
about, right? Is seeing that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it gives you a foundation to stand on as you grow in that relationship with your guides as well. Because if, you know, you're starting to talk to them, it's really casual, but then 2 months down the line, all of a sudden you see a very blatant rainbow in your face, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's right. Are you guys, do you need something from me? Is like, what's going on? Like now you have some dedicated dialogue kind of points that if they need to get your attention, they have something to grab it with. And your brain starts to associate it with something that's normal and comfortable. So when you do ask those bigger questions, your brain's going to let the answers in because it's used to that energy of your guides popping in to connect with you.
Yeah, it's gonna feel safer. And
Yeah.
dang it. I swear, like I have these comments and then whoop, bye. I don't know
I
where
mean,
they even
honestly,
go.
this eclipse season is a doozy. So blame it on the sky.
Oh, there it is. There it is. So I love how it's taking these symbols and being like, this is what I want for a sign versus being like, oh my gosh, what was that? Was that a sign? Was that a sign? Was that a sign? It stops you from wondering if everything and its brother and mother and stepdaughter is a sign and being like, okay, I know that's for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And the thing
Yeah.
is from there, obviously there will be more signs than just that one thing. This is just
Hmm.
taking it to like, you know, this is the scales, not the song, right? You're learning like the basic there of like communication with them. So
Yeah.
can there be other signs even after you've asked for this one? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Like it's my personal belief that like no synchronicities have no meaning, like they all have meaning, right?
Hmm.
So if you do see a synchronicity and you're like, huh, is that some sort of sign for me? Chances are good. Yeah, probably. There's probably something there for you,
Yeah.
but it does take out the doubt of like, okay, well, I'm never going to be able to know when there is a sign. It's like, well, concretely, no matter what, I will know this thing always
Yeah.
has meaning. And you can always take it further too. You can just take it as like, hey, my guides are here with me, like, yay, validation, which is totally fine. That can be more
Yeah.
than enough. But it could also be like, oh, you see that and you know that's your moment to be like, ooh, what is going on? What else do I see, sense, hear, feel, know, taste, smell? Like, what else is coming in? And it can kind of be like a moment of information or download or ping on certain things too. So you can really expand it almost infinitely.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so no, when you're talking about the clarisenses, then
Yeah.
this means not everybody's going to hear a guide, not everybody's going to see things. some people are going to feel it. Some people are going to, like, it's all going to come in differently. So how often are people not sabotaging, that's the wrong word, but how often are people doubting because it's not coming up the way they think it should?
All the time. Almost everybody. And a lot of that I do blame the depictions of psychics in media for, right? Like there's this idea of, well, I have to see them if I'm going to talk to them, or I have to hear them to get their advice. And so we kind of prioritize those two senses above all the other, you know, six other ones that there are on top of that, because it seems like that's the way that it would be the most valid because we're here living a physical existence. Super not. All of the senses are valid. All of them can give you deeper and more profound information. And most of the time, not most of the time, but a good chunk of the time when someone comes in and like, I can't connect with my guides. I'm like, well, how are you connecting with them? And they'll be like, well, I'm trying to, talk to them and I'm not hearing anything back. I'm like, oh, that's because you're a just know. Like you have a stronger just knowing sense and a stronger physical feeling sense. And like, let's give you some tips on how to leverage those to actually get the communication to come through. And this could be for a variety of different reasons, and everyone can learn to use all the senses. I don't want you to be like, man, I'm just a smeller. Like, I really wish I could see, like you can, like, you can learn to do those things for
Just a
sure.
smeller.
Um, yeah, so you can add more in, but it's really helpful to start learning how to connect with the guides in the path of least resistance, as opposed to
Mhm.
being like, well, I can't do this until I unlock this part of my senses.
Mhm.
And that's where you're going to get a lot of resistance. And sometimes there's a sense blocked off because you got other things going on with that sense. Like maybe a past life thing happened where seeing things is not something that you want to do anymore because of whatever happened in past life. We can unlock that, we can unblock it, we can heal that, whatever. But fighting against something that is currently blocked is going to make you feel blocked and then make you feel doubts and that kind of thing. Where if you're like, okay, well, I know I'm a just knower, so I better talk out loud to hear what comes through so that I can just pick up on this just knowing. The same way if I were giving advice to someone else, I'll just do it out loud to myself and see what I just know. And that's going to help a lot.
Yeah. And listen, smell is super underrated because we've all been where you smell something, you're like, oh my gosh, it's
Mhm.
Christmas.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Halloween. It's right. Like it's birthday parties. It's smell.
Mhm.
I love, I'm just a smeller. That actually
Mhm.
has a really powerful, it does.
Incredibly, smell and taste. Both are incredibly powerful. And I know
Hmm.
some really wonderful mediums and psychics and who only use those senses for the most part, where, they'll tap into something and based on what they're smelling, those smells coordinate to different things for them and like different meanings, and they get full pictures from that after that. Like you can really develop that into some really powerful energy.
Yeah, you really can. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
My
But I
dad's
also
like
have heard
that.
people be like, "Oh, I really wish I could see things. All I do is, taste and emotionally feel." And I'm like, "You can. Like, we can expand that, but like, don't be down on yourself for your own brand of magic. Like, that's cool."
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's all there for a reason. Like that's a
Yeah.
stronger sense in you for a reason. The other stuff can come, you're right, but like we have like it's on purpose. It's not by mistake. Like we live in a world where there's mosquitoes.
I know.
Everything is on purpose. Like those
Mhm.
have some kind of reason. I don't know what it is, but
If I could smite them, I would, but you're correct.
they're there for a reason. I know they feed bats. I like bats.
Bats can eat other things. Gnats
Yeah.
exist, Like,
Like for that, you know what, spirit guides, that's something I would like. So if anybody gets this download for me, let me know why mosquitoes exist. Like legit.
what is their
What
purpose?
is their purpose other than irritating the crap out of everybody?
Making everyone itchy. Isn't that fun?
There's a fun one today. The most annoying thing in your life, ask why it exists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
Well, a caveat on that though, get ready to actually receive the answer because
Mm,
sometimes it's not going
mm.
to be pleasant. Why that comes through. I think there's a lot of times we'll be like, why is this a thing? And the
Yeah.
guys will be like, because you need to do blah blah blah, or like because it's showing you this, and be like, ooh, ow, okay, fine.
Ugh, gross. I don't want to know that one.
Mhm.
Damn it. I don't want the
Kind of like
answer to that.
trees,
Yeah.
right? But people who like they'd love to talk to trees. I'm like, yeah, but have trees bullied you yet? Because if you want to know the truth about who you are as a person, Go ask a tree, because a tree's not going to care if you say what they are old. They're going to be like, if you're like, oh, why am I struggling with this? They'll tell you. They will tell you why you're struggling with it, and it will not necessarily be nice, but it will be very honest. Uh,
I've never asked a tree that.
oh yeah, yeah. Trees are very honest. They're very clear. They can be really reassuring. They could also be brutal.
Oh, I feel like a mountain would be the same way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mountains speak so slowly though. Sometimes it's hard to like really connect with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause they're
Oh,
old.
that
Mm,
would that would be
yeah.
that would be hard.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So everybody's gonna go start picking up rocks and like touching trees to be like, what does this have to say about
As
me?
you should. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're part of Earth, as if anything, we need a reminder of that on a
Mm-hmm.
regular, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah, it's funny. Whenever we're on again, we do, like I said, in person, like international retreats. My business partner laughs at me because she calls me a penguin, or they call me a penguin. My apologies. Because I'll be like going around and be like, oh, here's a rock, that's for you. I'm like, here's another rock, and like, that's for you. Like, just like bullying everybody like around the path because the rocks say stuff. I'm like, oh, you want to go with that person? I got you. Like, let's go.
Ooh,
Hmm.
rocks do like to talk.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anybody who's not into that yet, how do they start playing with trees or rocks or crystals? How do they start picking up on that kind of like that? How do they make that psychic part of them click?
Well, again, start with believing that they can,
Hmm.
right? Start with knowing that everything has a consciousness. Everything has a consciousness. Don't get too wrapped up in that, by the way. Don't be like, what do you mean? Like my food wrapper? Like everything does have a consciousness, but it's in varying different degrees and levels. And the more nature it is, the more consciousness it's going to have. And they tend to serve very specific kind of purposes or energies or those kinds of things. So I always recommend that start with, places that feel comfortable for you. Like if you're someone you're like, I really like the trees in the park, go talk to the trees in the park. If you someone who's like, oh, I'm super water related, I need to go sit by a river or a stream or the ocean or whatever, like then go do that. Or if you're, someone who really is like, oh, I always pick up rocks. Wonderful. Start very similarly, understand what your clair senses are, what you're going to be used to pick up on that, and then initiate that conversation like it was with a person. Like say, like, think with intention or say out loud or send that energy Care Bear style from your chest out to them. And be like, like, hello. Always introduce yourself, by the way. We have this really bad habit of like, we'll introduce ourselves to people, but not to like spirit stuff. Um, Especially spirit stuff that maybe doesn't super know us. Right? You don't need to introduce yourself to your guides. They've been helping you for however long they've been helping you, in different capacities. They know you. That's the core of it. But that tree that you've maybe never talked to before, they don't know your name unless you've said it out loud near them or something. Like they don't know who you are. So you being like, hi, like I'm so and so, like it's nice to meet you. I'd love to talk to you, have a conversation. It's just polite. So you can do that. Or with rocks, like if a rock stands out to you, you can always pick it up and ask why. Or you can just be like, oh, this one feels like it needs something. Like tap into those clear senses as you connect with it and see what it needs. If you're someone who are like, I love bringing rocks home, have you asked if they want to come home? I always ask if I'm like, oh, I really like this rock. Do you want to come home with me? Can
A
I
lot of
take
the
you?
time, the answer is no.
It's kind of, yeah. Sometimes it's yes. I do have
Yeah,
a fair amount of rocks about me on a pretty
yeah,
regular basis. But other times it's like, no, I have things I'm doing. It's like, well, merry meet, merry part. Like there you go.
yeah,
Go back to the
yeah.
space. But nature is very clear and very um, unassuming, and one of the clearest things you can speak with because it's not muddled by a lot of the other mm, things that muddle us, right? Or even animals, that their own singular whatever. Like nature sits and watches most of the time. So you talking to a river or a stream, which very opinionated, by the way, water has many opinions. Water is very intense. There's a reason that in witchcraft you give the names of people who've wronged you to a rushing river because they'll handle it for you, because they have a lot of big energy there. But there's a lot more watching and a lot more perspective you're going to get from like nature stuff in a lot of ways because they're also down here physically incarnated with you. Like you can touch them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's an easy way to like initiate it and just be open to whatever comes through.
So fun
Hmm.
story.
Yeah.
My kids were little and little enough that like they were like, I don't know, like 7 and under. And we were in this
Mhm.
park and I'm like, oh, there's a tree and it wants to be climbed. And they're like, I don't know, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, no, totally, it wants to be climbed. So I start climbing this tree and I say it like bucked me off. I landed on my back. Right. They're like, Mom, are you okay? I'm like, yep. Guess it
It
didn't
did
want to be
not want.
climbed. Totally misjudged that one. Oof.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Hmm.
And it was like a hit to the ego, right? Because I was like totally sure. And I'm like, so it's like you can't really get this stuff wrong, right? So when you when you start
Hmm.
interacting with it, it will let you know.
Oh, 100%. It
Yeah.
absolutely will.
Yeah.
Absolutely will. And I think that we also underestimate the ability of like trees and rocks and things. They can move. Like we don't see them moving in the way that we think, but like a rock can roll, a rock can scoot down, a rock can push forward or send energy out. Same with a tree. Like you see tree branches move every time there's a windstorm. They
Yeah.
also can do that. Like they can move those around. We just don't always perceive that. So that tree bucking you off, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it was like, and we're done. Like you're
Yeah.
getting off of me.
Totally done. So done. Like landed on its roots. Like it was brutal. It's brutal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And trees gossip about you too. I'll tell the other trees. We'll talk. It's
Oh,
cute.
oh,
Hmm.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. What are you
Not in a
gonna do?
bad way, but they'll, like if you're nice to them, they're gonna be like, this one's not gonna carve into us. Like this one's a good one. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
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 They talk.
The poor trees that get carved into.
Aspens. Aspens get that all the time. Like, I'm
The
so
what?
sorry. Like
Oh,
aspen trees. Yeah, they carve into them a lot. People do.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Anyway.
so how often does let's talk about being afraid to connect to spirit guides because I find that's something that people are like I'm afraid of what they're going to tell me. I'm afraid I'm going to connect to like maybe a dark force. I don't know if I should trust the one that's coming through. Can we dive into that little bit?
Absolutely, we totally
Yeah.
can. And that is a very common thing of being scared in a bunch of different ways. I do think the one that comes up first for a lot of people, like, am I going to connect to something that's not my guide and they're going to trick me? The number one way to distinguish if the being you're talking to is a guide or not a guide is guides are doing everything for your best intention. Like their drive is to like help you. And it's not like they have to convince you, like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. It's like the thing they tell you, they're like, you need to do this. You'll be like, yeah, I do. I do need to do that. Like, dang it, even if you don't want to, or if you'll be like, oh, that's how it's going to play out. Okay, I understand that. Like, their whole thing is to like truly show up for you, and you don't need to do an energetic exchange. Typically, guides aren't going to ask you for, leave if you leave this offering for me, then I'll tell you something like that. Like, they're not going to do that because that's part of your contract with them already. Like, that's part of the connection you already have. You figured that out before you came down here. You asked them to be a guide. There's a reason they're doing that. They already know. Occasionally, they'll ask you to do something good for yourself. Well, they'll be like, well, I'll tell you after you go for that walk we've been asking you to go on for the last week. And you'll be like, right, okay, I'll do the thing for, but that's again for you, which is very different. Other beings that potentially aren't a guide, if you were to tap into them, they would be a little bit more motivated by their motivations, not necessarily doing things for you, not helping you grow, trying to push you to do things you're maybe uncomfortable with or that don't feel super great, or get some stuff in return, be like, well, I need an offering for that, or blah, 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 like whatever it is. It starts to be pretty distinctive pretty quickly when you start tapping into these things. It is not common for people to tap into things that are not their guides. Because also you're setting this intention of like, I'm connecting with my guide. You're kind of tuning to that frequency, the frequency of just your guides, which is unique from the nature spirit that's hanging around or your grandpa or whatever it is. Like that's a unique and different energy that you are tapping into, which is important to note too. Spirit guides are beings from all different times you've lived and higher self stuff and all sorts of things. It's not just from people you've known on this in this life that have passed or something of that capacity. Typically, those aren't even your spirit guides. Occasionally, they can be. They guide you and they help you. Don't get me wrong, but they're not necessarily spirit guides in the spirit guide sense that I'm speaking of. They could be, but it's not often. Um, but anyway, so you're gonna know pretty quickly based on like the way that the communication is and how they're nudging you and those kinds of things. So trust in that space. And again, always ask for validation if you need it. So you can always be like, okay, like I got some pings from you. I'm not sure if I picked up on those. I'm not sure if I'm understanding them right. Can you send me additional validation? And maybe you'll see that validation sign we mentioned, or someone's going to walk by talking on the phone and being like, yeah, totally. That's exactly what happened. Or, you know, you're going to have a crazy dream the next night or whatever it is. It's going to validate it all. So you can always ask for additional validation there. On the note of people who are like, well, what if they tell me things I don't want to hear? Or what if they, you know, tell me, you know, put more pressure on me to do things or whatever that is? That's where kind of some block removal things come in, or some ideas around like, why are you feeling that way? What is the belief that's sitting in your space that's causing you to think that these beings are going to cause you more pain, more harm, whatever that is? And that's where I would encourage you to like dig in on that and really explore that. And those can be energetically removed and moved through energy work and those types of things, or it could be something you bring to like your therapist and you work through it that way, whatever that is. But I deeply believe spirituality and mental health go hand in hand. So that's a very necessary thing. But as you release that and you start to overcome that, it's going to be easier and easier to connect. The other thing is your guides are not here to like get you in more trouble. Like they're not here to be like this other authority figure you now have to appease or something. They're here to help you in your journey. If anything, you're not surprising them. Like if you stop talking to them for 6 months, you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. I should like now they're gonna be so mad at me for not talking. No, they expected it probably. They're like, nah, you're gonna connect with us, and then you're gonna take 6 months of doing whatever it is you're doing, and it'll help to hear, and then you're gonna connect again. Like they know what you're generally doing. Like they understand that. So you're not in this weird obligation space of appeasing them or making sure that they don't get mad at you or anything. They're not an authority figure. They're your support team. They're like your core buddies that are here to help you through stuff. Which doesn't mean that they won't say things like, hey, you're being real dumb right now. Can we do something different? Like they will sometimes say that, but it won't be out of malice. It'll only be out of like, again, that benefit. Does that make sense?
Yep. 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how can connecting to them help us, well, rewrite our lives, right?
Yeah. Wonderful question. There's more benefits than I can even describe when it comes to connecting with your guides. At the very core of it, knowing that you have a support team that's helping you along is so beneficial. Just knowing that there's another, you're not doing all these things alone, that there's beings you can call on and rely on that will sit, like actually help you, will bring more things in, will, you know, help you navigate a situation, you name it. So incredibly helpful. So helpful, just even in that knowledge. But also the deeper that relationship you have with them, the more you connect with them, the easier it is to kind of start controlling a little bit more of your life path and map and those types of things, and manifesting things in easier or navigating situations easier. And they're going to help you naturally explore more of your magic, naturally release blocks, naturally open up more of your psychic stuff, naturally help you connect deeper in these spaces. And the more you connect deeper magically, more that you do these types of things, the more magical your entire life becomes. Like there's so many examples, even, you know, just from my own life, I could pull of how much random, cute, beautiful magic will just pop in on a day to day purely because I live in this way. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. um, really because I live in this way. Like, you know, I will walk into like we walked when we were in Japan. We walked into a shrine in Japan and a butterfly landed on my head, just sat there for a while. Like
Cool.
little beautiful things like that that are just make your life easier to navigate and more magical in general. Also it helps because you can now have more information. You can more of what am I doing this for? Like this seemingly random thing happened. It sucks. I don't like it. Can I get some more meaning about why this happened? Or what is the next step I take after this big random thing that happened that is, you know, causing me a lot of pain? Like how can I navigate through this where it doesn't feel like you just have to figure it all out? And sometimes there's things where you're like, well, I don't know why I went through that, but it really was horrible for me. And the more connection you have with your guides, the easier that becomes as well. Also, it's just fun. Like we deserve to have more fun. And I think that we don't always look at fun as a benefit, but gosh, it's a freaking benefit. Like, isn't it fun to have a team of like if you have a dragon, wouldn't it be fun to talk to that dragon? Like that sounds like a fun thing to do, right? So
All
like,
the time.
mm-hmm.
I do, in fact, have a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They
yeah.
are fun.
Yeah, they're so fun, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it expands your perspective. It gives you more empathy. It helps you understand the magic of what it is to be human. I appreciate being human. I appreciate being human in this time because I
Mhm.
have these connections with my guides. And I think that that is another beautiful, unique thing that comes up from it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us.
My gosh, absolutely. My pleasure. I hope everyone gets inspired by it and feels more connected with it and taps into their peeps.
Right? Right?
Hmm.
Like just go for it. Just reach for them, right? Because it's um in the culture where, right, it is praised to, what is it? People are like, they want to be wealthy, they want to reach their highest potential, they want there's a lot of biohacking and everything. And I'm like, just go have some fun.
Yeah,
Just go have some fun.
truly. And we're not taught how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I talk about this a lot in readings and different things that I do because, you know, a lot of times guides will come in and be like, could you please just tell them to go have fun? Like, they
Just
have
have
been
some
nothing
fun.
but serious for a year. And I'll be like, yeah, I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
And the person
Yeah.
immediately goes like panic mode. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
what do you mean go have fun?
Yeah.
What does that mean? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're not taught how to do that. And that's really challenging a lot of the time because we're taught like fun is for when you're a kid, and then now we have fun kind of by proxy, right? If someone else is
Yeah.
organizing an event, then you go and you have like some fun, you're like, oh, that's nice. Or fun is associated with like feudalism in a lot of ways, where it's like, yeah, go get drunk at this bar, right? Like go do this
Oh
thing,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's like the adult fun. And that doesn't have to be that way, one,
Hmm.
at all. But also, you know, you can ask your guides, like, hey, could you bring me more opportunities for fun that I can say
Yeah.
yes to? Like,
Yeah.
you don't just have to do that alone either. But the more fun you have, the better your magic is going to be. Of course, your life
Hmm.
will be better, but your magic connection is better too. And I'll tell people that all the time because people are like, oh, well, you know, what's the tip? What thing can I best do to develop my psychic abilities? I'm like, have fun with them.
Yeah.
Like, go read a fiction book and tap into the energy of that and like let your abilities come through that way. Like, I talk about fiction as a healing modality all the time because it
All the
is.
time. It's
Mhm.
so incredible. I know I read
Yeah.
70 when I looked at that 75 hard thing. Everybody probably knows what I'm talking about. He's like, read a real book, read real books. And I was like, you lost me there. I'm like, I can't do the whole thing because
Mhm.
I'm not allowed to read fiction books because there's so much truth and
Oh my gosh, yes.
inspiration in fictional books. Yeah.
They connect us with our ancestors because
Yeah.
storytelling is the one universal human truth that's existed in every culture on planet for as long as people have been on planet.
Yeah.
They connect us with our own magic. They help us see things outside of ourselves. I believe all fiction is channeled into, so it all exists in energetic reality. You can talk to those characters outside of the book. It helps you to meditate. Reading fiction is meditation,
Hmm.
because you're in a meditative space and you're letting that story like heal things. Yeah, no, I people ask me all the time, like, what books do I recommend? Do you recommend for you know opening your psychic abilities? I'm like, fiction ones. I don't actually give a lot of nonfiction recommendations ever because I
Fiction.
can the same thing that a nonfiction would teach you a lot of the time, a fiction's going to teach you through storytelling. So like, why don't it's like, oh, you want to, you know, learn about the Fae? Read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. That's a great representation of that. You want to learn how to do that? Like, read this one. That's going to help you there. And yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, but it's
Yeah.
fun because the more
So
fun you
fun.
have, the better it is. Like, the easier it is.
Way better.
Mhm.
I know. And some of the fictional characters that you want to slap them upside the head too, right? So what are you thinking?
Oh, yeah. And it creates a beautiful mirror that you don't have to live through, right? So
Mhm.
like, reality is a mirror to us in a lot of ways, and that we sometimes take that too literal. I don't want you to think like every bad person that comes in show something like icky about you. Like, that's not it
Empath
at all.
guilt.
Right? I know. But it's not so much that, right? It's more
Yeah.
along the lines of like, it shows you something about yourself. It shows you what things are not aligned with you, what things are aligned with you. Ooh, maybe that person's struggling with that. And you also should board from that and look at that too. Like, there's a mirror there. But sometimes you don't want to live through all of that mirror. And
Yeah.
that's where books come in too. Whatever fiction book you're drawn to can mirror back the same thing, reality being that mirror. So you can see, oh wow, this main character is so strong. I love them for that. And then you can also see, you know, oh, this villain is awful or the sidekick is annoying as heck. But maybe I am also sometimes that way, or maybe I know someone exactly like that, or I wonder if they're going to go through this healing arc, and then you kind of go through that healing arc with them, and then you notice your traits are different and things like that shift too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody about your free gift?
Yeah, like I said, the free gift I have is that my Claire workshop basically is how to figure out your own psychic senses. It's really comprehensive, beautiful activity. And you can just dive into what are your strongest psychic senses and kind of just a basis of how to start using them. With some examples of like different characters, fiction characters again, but have those senses as well. So you can kind of conceptualize like, oh, I know that character. That's how that sense actually works. I can do that too.
Nice.
So yeah, if you want to dive in and work through those, totally for free. You're
Totally.
welcome. Yeah.
Yay. And where can everybody, well, you already said your website, and I'll have a link, but where can everybody
Yeah.
reach you?
Yeah, so Emily Dexter Psychic is my website if you want to like book things. I do group readings once or twice a month. I do individual readings, but they are booked out about 6 months, just warning in advance. The bookings are open for those. You just kind of have to wait a little bit. All in divine timing. All in divine timing. But also my social media, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube. I'm working on growing a lot of YouTube presence right now. So if you want to head over there, that's great. But it's all liker of words. Liker of words, exactly as it sounds. You can also
Fantastic.
just Google Emily Dexter Psychic. All of it will come up. It's all over there. There's that. And then I also have a podcast. It's called The Alchemist's Inkwell. And we do episodes every week. And then we also do a live show most Fridays. Fridays when we can swing it. Over on our YouTube there too. So you can actually like interact with us and ask us questions. It's me and my business partner. They're a powerful astrologer and astrological and folk magician. So they do a lot of really cool stuff with that. Yeah. And yeah,
Beautiful.
if you wanted to go on any of your retreats too, all that information is also on my site.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on. This has been such a joy. It's been lovely to talk with you. And thank you for everyone listening. Thank you for listening in.
Always thank you to the audience. You're not over there, you're over here. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next show.